So next on the agent list is Omen, and he is technically a controller. This is probably the agent that I've had the most experience with playing this weekend. His abilities are pretty good. His ultimate has a huge outplay potential, and anyway, let's just jump right into the abilities. So his C, which again he gets 2 charges of it. You can see right here. It's called Shrouded Step. Again, I apologize that it's getting cut off a little bit. Equip a Shadow Walk ability and see its range indicator. Fire to begin a brief channel, then teleport to the marked location. So this guy is very powerful because you're able to, just like Jet, you're able to get into positions that you can't get with other champion or agents. You can get up on top of boxes and get up on top of things that you normally couldn't. So it kind of reminds me a lot like Reaper. If you ever played Overwatch, where you have a teleport, and there's a channel time. So like it's what it looks like. Pretty much copy paste the Reaper's E ability. The good thing about this is that when you're teleporting, there's no cloud or anything. So if you're teleporting from, say you want to teleport from one side of the door to the other, they'll hear you using teleport, but they have no idea where you actually teleport to. Like the actual location that you're teleporting to has no sound. So I think it's kind of cool to be able to like sneak up on people and peek different angles on people. And I think that's probably why I like this agent the most, because it allows me to like move around pretty quietly and nobody really knows where I am a lot of the times. So his Q, next moving on, is called Paranoia, and you can see he only has 1 charge of this, so you can only buy it once. You only use it once around. It's called Instantly Fire a Shadow Projectile Forward, briefly reducing the vision range of all players it touches. The projectile can pass straight through walls. So this is a cool ability where it goes straight through a wall and the range is pretty far. And basically, if you get hit by it, whether it's your teammate or the enemy, remember, because all of your abilities hits your teammates as well, it basically makes it so that you can only see right in front of you. You can't see very far. So the outplay here it happened a couple times where I'm like holding an angle, or I'm holding a doorway, and I hear people like running up this way. So what I would do is I would just kind of aim where I hear them going, throw my Q through the wall, and then peek with it. And they can't see me from this distance, but I can see them. So it adds kind of a cool outplay mechanic. Now, the only problem with this is that since it's technically, it gives them what's called a short-sighted debuff. If I'm going to press my Q and they're like right in my face already coming through the wall, well, I'm close enough where they'll see me, so it won't do anything. A lot of times I felt like what happened was I would hit somebody with this and then they just run away because they were afraid of, just dying. So I feel like it's good. It's very situational. It's not something that's too overpowered, I don't think. And a lot of times if you time it wrong, a lot of times what people will do too is when they get hit by it, the opposite thing is they just run at you because they can see where it's coming from. So they know kind of where you are and where you're throwing it. So that's kind of the downside to it, is that they can you can see like it's literally just a straight line. So you see exactly where it comes from. So I'd say that's probably the downside to it, is that you're literally giving your position away. But if you hit them, chances are if they're far enough away, you're going to kill them. So it's good. I like it. Like I said, this is probably the agent I played the most of, the agent that I have the most experience with this weekend. Moving on to his E, this is basically just a big smoke grenade, or it's basically like a hollow smoke grenade. So it says Dark Cover. And again, you get this twice in a round. It recharges, I want to say, every 30 seconds. But reading it is equips a shadow orb, and you see its range indicator. Fire to throw the shadow orb to the marked location, creating a long-lasting shadow sphere that blocks vision. Hold right click while targeting to move the target further away. Hold the ability key while targeting to move the marker closer. So right click brings it further. E brings it closer, right? You can see in the middle of the screen. So E will bring it closer to you. Right click will bring it further. And if you left click, it'll throw it. So you can just throw it. So the really cool thing about this ability, I really like this ability, is that you can throw it through walls. So you like peek, get it set up in a spot, and then hide. And then you can click and throw it. It goes through the wall and it'll go right there. Now, like I said, this is kind of a hollow smoke where it blocks vision around it. But if you go inside of it, it's hollow. You can see straight through it. So what a lot of people were doing, or what I was trying to do, is I was like trying to find weird positions where like I could throw like in this doorway, and I'd play like in this doorway, and I just hold an angle, right? It's really good. Like they can't see you in, and you can't see out, but if you hold a choke point with it, it'll last a really long time too. Those are his 3 main abilities, and then his ultimate, I think, is one of the coolest ultimates in the game. It's very, very situational. It's very, very obvious most of the time what you're doing with it, but it's called From the Shadows. Equips a tactical map. Fire to begin teleporting to the selected location. While teleporting, Omen will appear as a shade that can be destroyed by an enemy to cancel his teleport. So basically, you press X, which is the ultimate ability. You can teleport anywhere on the map from spawn, anywhere. So if I wanted to go from spawn to spawn, you can do it. And basically, there you go. You spawn, you throw it, and all of a sudden, you're back in spawn. Or you're at the other bomb site, or you're going through a teleporter, or... Okay, I'm not really sure what just happened. While I'm teleporting to that spot, so like if I'm teleporting to right here, at this spot, there's like a white ghost that spawns, and if they kill that ghost before I actually spawn, then it cancels my ult, and I wasted my ult. For the entire enemy team, when you use this, it's very obvious because it blurs their radar, and so everyone's kind of aware of like, oh, you know, look, the Omen's teleporting in. Be careful, he's probably going to be behind you somewhere. So there's a big outplay mechanic here where, you know, you're in a 1v1, you know where the other team is, you know where the other guy is, you can just teleport to the other side of the map, pretty much guaranteeing you the round. Pretty cheesy. I was using it on attack where I would have my teammates try to rush somewhere pretty fast, and then I would try to teleport behind. You know, there's a lot on both of the maps you're able to play. There's spots where you can teleport behind where there's not many people that usually play there. So I tell my teammates to rush while I'm teleporting behind them, and then we just, you know, pincher them pretty well. I feel like by the time you throw 2 of his E's, by the time one of them recharge, or by the time they're both down, you already have a 3rd charge of it. So if you're good at his E and you're able to like hold chokes pretty well, and then you can utilize his ult, I feel like Omen can single-handedly win you a few rounds, which I think is pretty good and pretty important. All right, so next on the list is Phoenix, and he is a duelist just like Jet. His first move, which is his C, is called Blaze. Again, I know you can't see it. Costs 200 credits. You only get 1 charge of it, and it's called Equip, or the ability is Equips a Flame Wall. Create fire to create a line of flame that moves forward, creating a wall of fire that blocks vision and damages players passing through it. Hold fire to bend the wall in the direction of your crosshair. So this is the normal one. This is without curving it. What happens? Just a straight line. And this is with curving it. Going up. You can see like you can literally make super bends and stuff. And you can hear like when I stand in the fire myself, going up. It blinds you standing in it, but if you stand on the outside of it, that green, that's actually healing me. You can see, you actually see right here. Going up. You can see right here, it says healing, right? So it's actually healing me by standing in it. There was a couple times where I played Phoenix where I didn't really remember if the wall that I threw was mine or the enemy's. So I'd stand in it, and then it was the enemy's, and it would damage me. Now, his Q is called Curveball, which is basically another flashbang, like, I think it was Breach. Equips a flare orb that takes a curving path and detonates slowly after throwing. Fire to curve the flare orb to the left, detonating and blinding any player who sees it, and you alternate fire to turn it to the right. But yeah, if you press Q, like it snaps. I don't know why. I really like his Q, just the way it works, or it sounds. His Q, basically, there's no way to throw it straight. You either have to curve it to the left or curve it to the right. I guess if you did want to throw it straight, you'd have to like throw it at like a really weird angle and get it to go straight. But yeah, most of the time people were just like using it to throw around corners, and then you can just peek with it. But his signature ability, which again means he gets this ability every single round, doesn't have to buy it. It's called Hot Hands. Equips a fireball. Fire to throw the fireball that explodes after a set amount of time or hitting the ground, creating a lingering fire zone that damages enemies. So it's kind of like in Counter-Strike, you can't just throw a Molotov straight in the air and have it just land in their spawn. With this one, if you throw it too high, basically what happens is it comes straight down. I guess it's kind of hard to show on this map here, but probably this is good. So if you throw it straight up, you'll see eventually will just go straight down to wherever it's above. So it's kind of better than a Molotov in CS actually. But you can also see here that again, this is another one of those abilities that have the 2 X's, which means the only way this ability recharges is if you get 2 kills. And then finally, I think this guy's ult is probably probably the best in the game. I don't think, maybe situationally some ults are better, but I think Phoenix's ult is the best. And basically what it does, it's called Run It Back. Instantly places a marker at Phoenix's location. While this ability is active, dying or allowing the time to expire will end the ability and bring Phoenix back to his location with full health. So what that means, and what a lot of, the different maps, you have to wait for the gameplay later to see how the different maps play. But a lot of times what would happen is the Phoenix would ult, and then this is his starting spot. He would run through a teleporter, be able to clear every single part of the map that he's running through the teleporter, and then once this timer runs out, or if he dies, if they kill him, he just goes right back, full health. So the counterplay to this is when you're respawning, so if they kill you, or if the timer runs out, when you're respawning, you're stunned for 2 or 3 seconds. So if they find where you actually ulted from, you're dead, because we'll show it again, but basically while he's doing that pop the collar thing and like coming back to life, you're able to be shot then. And the majority of the time, the people that weren't very good with him would just, so right now you're able to be shot this entire animation. So people would make it very obvious where they're ulting from, and the other team can hear exactly when you ult, so they can kind of tell exactly where you're going to come from or where your actual starting spot is. So you have to be kind of careful with where you ult from. But yeah, I think it's really, really powerful to get really fast information pretty much for free too. As long as you're not getting caught off of where you put your starting position. It's pretty, like, I played him a couple times, and there's a couple times where I did exactly what I said. I ulted, I ran through a teleporter, I killed 2 people, then they killed my image, but because I was ulted, I went back to where I started. I had full health. So I instantly made the round a 3v5 for basically just giving away my ult. So I think his ultimate's really, really, really good. And I think in the hands of somebody that has really good aim or really knows the maps really well, it's very powerful to be able to either get information or get a free kill or 2 or 3. And then there you go. You just win the round instantly for your team. Right, so next up we have Sage, which is, again, a Sentinel agent. And to me, that just basically means she's hard support. So first up, which is her C, and again, you can see here, she only gets 1 charge of it around. It's called Barrier Orb. Equips a Barrier Orb. Fire places a solid wall. Alt fire rotates the targeter. So basically, what you're able to do with this is the wall ability. And I know not people don't like that this exists. It's kind of like Mei. It's not as overpowered as people think. I mean, there's some places you can do it where it's kind of annoying. But for the most part, so if you press C once, it makes a horizontal wall. If you press C again, it'll make a vertical wall. And then it actually, if you hold right click, you can actually directly change, you can make it exactly how you want it to be. You can use it as a boost as well. And each of these the wall has individual little quadrants where you're able to shoot it. So you can see if you want to shoot this side, you can see it'll just make a hole in the wall. Most people don't use it to boost. Most people use it to just cut off choke points. It's actually really, really annoying playing against a Sage when they're on the defense and you're on the offense, because most Sages would just wall off one of the chokes instantly, and then you either have to take the time to shoot it, which is just kind of annoying. I mean, it goes away eventually. You can see it gets kind of more scuffed as time goes on, which means it's about to blow up. But yeah, it's very annoying sometimes to play against. But yeah, you can make it horizontal, you can make it vertical, you can right click to change it. A lot of what some people were doing was like using it as a boost instead of as a wall, especially on attack, because there's not very much you want a wall on attack. But yeah, they would use it to go up and be able to get out in boxes and take different weird angles. It's also worth mentioning though is that some sages would wall behind them on attack while they were trying to go into a site, and then when I was playing Omen, I would just teleport onto it and then walk flank behind them, and they had no idea, and I was able to flank. So you know, Jet and Omen both have movement abilities where they can get over it and not have to shoot it. So yeah, I guess that goes for also on defense, where Jet and Omen can also teleport up onto it or get over it without having actually to break it, and then you can catch people off guard. So her Q is equip a slow orb, fire to throw a slowing orb forward that detonates upon landing, creates a lingering effect that slows player caught inside of it. Now this is also one of those global abilities where it affects both teammates and enemies. So you throw an orb on the ground, and then if you walk in it or run in it, it slows you really a lot. But you also make this little like crunching noise every time you step, and you can't jump. Like your jump is super, like you can't jump at all. You can't like bunny hop through it. You're just kind of stuck. And if you stand still in it, they don't know you're there, right? You make no noise. But if you move at all, even like you can't walk through it, you can't crouch through it. It'll always make noise. You always know when they're there. And a couple of times people would throw this, and then the enemy would kind of like jump into it. Like you can barely hear that they made like one tick of noise, but then they would just hold inside the smoke and just wait for someone to peek, and it was really annoying. But yeah, so that actually affects your teammates too. So it's really important that you don't throw this in somewhere where it's gonna actually, you know, slow your whole team. Like you don't want to, like, if you're trying to rush through this doorway, you don't want to just throw it in the doorway as your team is rushing through, right? Because then your whole team is just going at just crawling trying to get through as they're rushing. So yeah, you have to be careful. You know, you have to make sure you don't like miss your slow orb on accident or anything. And again, you get 2 of those around, so yeah, you can delay pretty well with that as long as you're not messing your teammates up with it. Now her E is the heal. We'll just read it. Equips a healing orb. Fire with your crosshair over damage to activate a heal over time. Alt fire to heal yourself, basically. So you press E. If you right click, if you press E, if you right click, it heals yourself. It's I can't heal myself right now because I'm full health already. And if you left click, it just heals anyone around you. It actually heals you to 100, I think, almost no matter what. Maybe I think it heals you for 75 or 80. I'm not sure the exact number. And this is one of those abilities where I think it takes 30 seconds to recharge. So a lot of times what would happen is Sage would run in with a teammate, and then the teammate would like go for a quick kill. If he died, well, she has an ult that we'll talk about, but if the guy got tagged and was able to live, she just can heal him to full pretty fast. Finally, her ult is just a resurrect. If you want to read it, fire with your crosshair placed over a dead ally to begin resurrecting them. After a brief channel, the ally will be brought back to full life with full health. You can do this throughout the whole round. There's not a time, like if somebody died and you run over them later into a round, you can revive them even if it was, you know, a full minute later. It actually happened one time. I was playing with I think it was Miss Harvey was on my team, and she died really early into a round, and then she said she AFK'd to write notes on the game and what to do, and then I revived her and she didn't realize, and she just stood there AFK, and we lost the round because of her being AFK. But that being said, I still revived her. And yeah, obviously when you're reviving somebody, while, you know, they like come back to life kind of like an angel almost, and then they kind of stand still for 2 seconds and then they respawn. So in those 2 seconds that they're respawning, it's super important that Sage covers that person, or the whole team covers that person being revived. A lot of times somebody would like, usually they throw the wall first and then they revive right away, because it, you know, the wall can take a bunch of bullets. Like it almost takes a full clip. Yeah, it's like a 1 full clip, and then you have to reload to peek again, right? So a lot of times, like I said, they put up the wall, revive, and then all of a sudden you're man up situation. So next we are on to Sova, who is called an initiator. So just moving right into his abilities. His C is called Owl Drone. And again, this is one that he gets once a round. You can see down here. He only has one charge of it. Costs 300 credits to use, and then it says equip an owl drone, fire to deploy and take control of movement of the drone. While in control of the drone, fire to shoot a marking dart. The dart will reveal the location of anyone struck by the dart. So again, you just press C and you click.
Take flight.
And you have a little dude you can fly around on. It takes a long time to turn around, so it's not really that. It's not that good to like try to 360 a bunch to try to clear every angle. Most of the time, people just like kind of one track minded it, just kind of ran right into the site to try to clear and kill as many people. You can also shoot while you're in it, and it marks people. Again, I don't think that marking either with this or the Cypher camera is that good. I think as long as you're talking to your team, like as long as you're using comms and you're using voice, being able to just say, hey, there's people coming this way is better than just not using voice and marking someone being like, hey, there's a guy right here exactly. I guess what the marks are good for though is that if you can do it behind a wall and then you can wall bang them, it's pretty good. So that's his drone. Now his Q is called Shock Bolt, and this one he gets 2 in a round, and they cost 100 each. Equip a bow with a shock bolt. Fire to send the explosive bolt forward, detonating upon collision and damaging players nearby. Hold fire to extend the range of the projectile. Alternate fire to add up to 2 bounces to this arrow. Now, I think his abilities are probably the most fun, just because there's so much you can do with them. If you right click, I love that sound. But you can basically add bounces to it. So like if you only want it to bounce once, you can charge it and only bounce once. Boom. If you want it to bounce twice, boom, boom. I don't know how that took us a weird bounce. 1, 2, boom. And again, it damages your teammates and yourself, so you have to be careful with it. What the Valorant devs did to make it really easy to make lineups, instead of having to know, like, you know, having to line up an exact spot on this bar to get a specific lineup where it has to be pixel perfect inside, you know, between the second and third line, like inside the middle. Basically, they made it easy so that it's just there's 4 different speeds. If it's anywhere inside this first one, it's the same exact speed. Like anywhere in this whole entire bar, it's the same speed. Anywhere in the middle one is the same speed, and then everyone in the last one is the same speed. And if you full charges, it's another speed. So when I say same speed, I mean each one is getting further, but it just makes it a lot easier to be able to, like, you know, just determine how far you want it to go. And then finally his E, which is, again, people aren't going to like this about it, but his E is his signature ability, which basically means he gets it every single round and it recharges with time, like 30 or 35 seconds. It's called Recon Bolt. Fire to send the Recon Bolt forward, activating upon collision and revealing the location of nearby enemies caught in the line of sight of the bolt. Enemies can destroy this bolt, hold fire to... So his E is the same as his Q. You get like pretty much the same exact little charge thing with the bounces. But basically this one is the one where it gives you wall hack. The thing is though, is it makes a very distinct noise when it hits. The enemy team has an actual marker on their screen if they're in the sight of it, and you see like there's a delay for the time that it actually pulses. So if you kill it before the first pulse, it actually will not detect you. And not only that, you have to be in line of sight of it. So if somebody throws a recon bolt here and I'm here, out of line of sight of it, they won't see me. So, you know, it's really good to clear behind boxes. But that being said, they can kill it before they even see it, or they can line of sight it and kind of like mind game you and be like, oh, look, there's nobody here. You just run in and you just get killed. This guy's ultimate is Sova's ultimate. It's called Hunter's Fury. Equips a bow with 3 long-range wall-piercing energy blasts. This is almost global. It might not be the entire map, but it's really, really far, and it goes through walls. Fire to release an energy blast in a line in front of Sova, dealing damage and revealing the location of enemies caught in the line. The ability can be reused up to 2 more times until the ability timer is active. Okay, so basically, so that little bar right here, this bar, it tells you how much, it's like really weird. This bar tells you how much time you have to actually click. So you can click 3 times. So 1, 3. So you get up to 3 shots with it. And if you hit anybody with it, it reveals them. And most of the time, if you get hit by it once, you need to make sure you dodge, because it takes 2 hits to kill you. It's not a 1 hit too. So it's, again, it's kind of like Hanzo ult, where it, you know, it can snipe you through walls and stuff. But the thing about this ability is that you can see, like, look how much time it takes to charge up. 1, 2. So it's almost 2 full seconds to charge up. All right, so we are finally on our last agent. Her name is Viper, and she is a controller just like Brimstone. So let's just jump right into it. So her C is called Snakebite, and again, you can see it costs 100, and she has 2 charges of it, right? I'm repeating it every time just so that people can, like, get into the habit of, like, seeing exactly where to look and how many abilities everything people have. So anyway, Snakebite is her first ability. It's called, what it does is equips a chemical launcher. Fire to launch a canister that shatters upon hitting the floor, creating a chemical zone that damages and slows enemies. So it's basically just like a smoke. It's kind of like a Molotov, but a less damaging Molotov, right? It doesn't damage as fast as a normal Molly like Counter-Strike or Brimstone's. Was it Brimstone or Breach? I think it was Brimstone. Yeah, Brimstone's Molly, I think, does more damage. So that's just her C. It's just basically just a Molotov. Now her Q is called Poison Cloud. And again, she only gets 1 of it. You can see there's not a, you only get 1 charge. Costs 200 to buy. Equips a gas emitter. Fire to throw the emitter that perpetually remains throughout the round. Reuse the ability to create a toxic gas cloud at the cost of fuel. This ability can be reused more than once and can be picked up to be redeployed. So this is basically, you can throw it anywhere you want it. And then, I think it's right here. It kind of went through the floor. And if you press Q again, it puts a big poison wall. And you can see right here that she has a finite amount of poison. Like, she has 100 poison, right? 100 fuel. And while it's up, it drains the poison. And while it's down, you regen the poison. So it's kind of cool, and then you can pick it up again by pressing F and throw it again. So it's pretty cool. Pretty much all of her abilities are poison, so it seems really overpowered in some situations where if you are playing on the attacking side, so you plant the bomb, you can just throw a bunch of poison everywhere, and it's really, really hard to do anything about. I'll show you here what her ult does. Her ult is insane. But anyway, moving on to her E, which is Toxic Screen. Equip a gas emitter launcher. Fire to deploy a long line of gas emitters. Reuse to create a tall wall of gas. So this basically, it's not global, but watch how far it goes. This is her, it goes through walls too. This is how far it goes. Look how big this wall is going to be. And then if you press E again, look at how big this wall is, and it's actually kind of insane. So a lot of people would throw it, and you can see it, you can see that it, wait a second, the fuel, right? You can see it takes fuel to actually use. And then once it gets to 0, you'll see it just goes away, and you have to wait for it to recharge. But yeah, a lot of people were throwing this at bomb sites, so like, they could literally cut off an entire bomb site as they're rushing, right? So you can throw it. You can't pick it back up because it doesn't work like that. You can use it once around, and then the wall is like that for the whole round. But you can literally, like, you can throw a wall from like here through the wall, and it'll go through the wall, and there'll just be like a giant wall into the site, and this whole thing will be cut off. So a lot of times, it seemed like on attack, people, the really good Viper players, would throw a wall through the, they throw their wall through a wall or through the wall, and then the entire bomb site squad was really good. And then finally her ult, I guess another thing that's worth mentioning too is if you have her Q as well. So if you throw a Q, if you Q, you can see it takes gas. If you press E, you can have both out at the same time, but it drains your gas faster, you can tell, right? So, like, see how much faster it went when both of them were up, and they both go away. and then you have to let your fuel recharge. Now her ultimate is called Viper's Pit. Equips a chemical sprayer. Fire to spray a chemical cloud in all directions around Viper, creating a large cloud that reduces the vision range and maximum health of the players inside of it. So this hurts your teammates too, but it's so good because so you press X and you can leave it wherever you want. So I'll throw it right here. And then basically what happens with this ult is it goes around walls. So the more walls, the more of a corridor you're in, the bigger this cloud will be. So it happened multiple times where the Viper would throw. It's so good on attacking. Basically, you would plant the bomb and just throw Viper's ult into the site, and you can see how giant the wall is. Like it's so big, it's huge. And as long as you stay, okay, I ran out of it for too long there, but as long as you stay inside of it as Viper, like it'll last forever. If you run out of it, you'll see smoke integrity down there, right? As long as you get back into it, this will literally last forever. So, everybody's nearsighted in it, so you can only see, you can see as much as Viper can see, but Viper takes no damage from it. So usually when you see this wall, there's going to be a Viper just like probably sitting in a corner somewhere waiting for you to run through it. I think it's pretty overpowered. I think, luckily you don't get it very often, so it's not, you don't have to deal with it very often. But when you do have to deal with it, it's super annoying. A lot of times what would happen is, like I said, the Viper that was on my team would just throw an ult in the site, and then he'd have a shot, like an auto shotgun, just waiting, just like, because when you run into this, either as the Viper's teammates or the enemies, you're losing a few points of health per second. So if you're in this poison for a long time, you can go all the way down to 1 health. So yeah, it's pretty good. The game is technically in alpha, so anything that I'm publishing, anything that I'm saying could definitely change. And yeah, that was the agent run through. I guess next I plan on doing some kind of, we'll go over the buy menu, we'll go over some other stuff, and yeah, that's it for the agent.